Welcome to 2 Cents Rugby, first video for this channel actually, and we are going to have a look at the Blues, a preview for their season 2018. Yeah, let's get cracking. Where are the Blues at the moment? Not in a great place. They're pretty much the laughingstock of the New Zealand Conference. This has been the way for a few years now. The man at the top, Tana, he has taking the team from being terrible to just average. So let's have a look at what he's got to work with this year. Up in the front, we've got Parsons, Moulds, Apisai, 3 hookers. Apisai is a new guy from the Hurricanes. Supposedly he is very good up-and-coming hooker. Parsons on the other end is kind of at the tail end of his career. One of those guys who you might have thought he would have gone overseas by now to chase some money before he retires, but he is apparently quite happy to keep playing in New Zealand, so he is still with the Blues. Matt Moulds, I think, will be the third choice guy for hooker. It'll be interesting to see if Parsons is the #1 guy for the whole season, or if it kind of shifts with Apisai as things go forward, because I think looking to the future, although hookers can play later than some other positions, you'd think Tana's got to be looking forward at some point. Props, so Tuangafasi, Manu, Hodgman, Mafaleo, Salmon and Tamo Aita. The last 2 guys are the new ones, supposedly quite good young prospects. Haven't seen a lot of them. Tuangafasi has improved a fair bit in his time with the All Blacks. He's still not, well, he's not a Charlie Falmoina style intimidating prop, but he is decent. Manu is the same, Mafaleo is the same, Hodgman is kind of a workman-like player. So not a whole lot to write home about in the front row for the Blues, but I don't think one that you'd look at that and go, well, that's just awful, going to get kind of bullied around. I think they'll be solid without being exceptional. Behind them, so we've got Tui Pelotu, Kauli Tuioti, Scott Scrafton, Goodhue and Jimmy Tupou. These are all the locks. Tupou kind of plays lock, loose forward. Similar to the front row, there's not a lot there that you look at and go, that's amazing. There's no Retallick or Whitelock. Tui Pelotu would be the closest guy. He probably needs to up his game if he wants to be that third choice All Black lock for the World Cup in 2019. Kauli Tuioti was he seems to be a favourite with Tana Umaga. Did most of the line-out jumping, I think, last season. Scott Scrafton and Goodhue seem pretty good when they're on the park. They don't get a whole lot of game time, but that'll probably improve as we go on in the season if they impress. Behind them in the loose, so we've got Gibson, Akira Ioane, Kaino, Pryor, Taramai, Preston and Papali'i. Again, the last 2 guys being new from New Zealand under-20, so good prospects who probably won't get a lot of time, but are there for the future. Pryor and Taramai looked good last season when they got on. Luatu is gone, so I think we need someone like Akira Ioane to step up and up his game, basically. He's been good since he came into the squad, without ever being great, unlike his brother who just came in and set the world on fire. So I think for him, not only to get out from his younger brother's shadow, but also just to step up and, I mean, he's played for the Maori All Blacks, but just to increase his own reputation, and hopefully for the Blues he needs to have a big season. Kaino, I'm not really sure where we're at with Kaino because he's getting on. I think most people would agree he's not the player he was when he was a lot younger. Less of those barnstorming runs that we're kind of used to with Jerome Kaino. Whether he's planning to stick around for 2019, not sure. But if he is, needs a big season. Gibson looks good when he plays, but he's injured for the start of the season, so that'll give a chance for someone else to step up. The backs, so halfback, scrum half, Pulu, Nock and Ruru. Ruru again being a new addition, Pulu being the new captain to replace Parsons. That would indicate to me that Pulu is probably going to get a lot of minutes. And yeah, I don't know how that sits with me, because Pulu is one of those figures that he divides people. He's got a good running game, makes lots of line breaks, but his pass is just a bit slow. And when you're talking halfback, what do you want? A good pass. So yeah, I worry that other teams will get too much time to set their defence if, you know, he's playing 70 minutes every week. Knox a fine number 2 guy, and Ruru, we'll see how he goes at this level. Number 10 gets even more interesting. So Ihai West has gone to the Hurricanes, having not kind of developed the way we would have hoped at the Blues, but they've replaced him. They swapped him with Terry Black, who's a guy trying to come out from Beauden Barrett's shadow. And he's got his chance now with the Blues, except that he's injured for the whole season and won't play. Yeah. So it's down to young guys, Stephen Perifetta and Bryn Gatland. Gatland will naturally have more of a spotlight on him just because of who his dad is. Perifetta supposedly kind of reminds me of Ihai West, in that when he came in, he was, oh, he looks good. He's a young talent. He's going to be really good. We'll see how we go. Daniel Kirkpatrick, he's come back from overseas. I think he might have played 1 to 10 Cup last season. Solid, mature, experienced hand. So maybe going to guide Perifetta and Gatland around. I hope he's not starting, but we'll see what Tana decides to do. If the young guys are ready for it, they're ready. And in the midfield, so we've got Moala, Williams, Faiane, and Tua plus Johnson. Tua and Johnson are the new guys. Moala is leaving at the end of the season, so it'll be interesting whether Tana takes a I have to win and win now, so I'm going to use my best and experienced players, or if he decides I'm still building, I need to give some of these younger guys some experience. So that's a question for him. Like guys like Tawera Kubalu last season, there was a lot of criticism of him going on All Blacks tours when it was like, why if he's leaving, why bother? So kind of similar attitude thing here might go with Moala. Sonny Bill probably needs a big season, although he's pretty much a shoo-in for the All Blacks no matter what he does. I still think he needs to have a big season to justify that spot for 2019. Yeah, Faiane was fine last year, and Tua and Johnson, we'll see if they get any game time. Ioane, it'll be interesting to see if he plays in the centres or on the wing. But yeah, if he is on the wing, so it's Ioane, Duffy, Collins, Nanai, Trainer, and Clark. Clark being the only new name there, I think. He is the son of legendary All Black centre Eroni Clark, so he's going to have, again, more spotlight put on him than if he was just some dude's son. But from what I've seen him, he looks awesome. He's with the Sevens team at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see how much he gets in the way of game time. Collins is kind of a hated figure by a lot of Blues fans. I don't know why. I guess it's because he's not that line-breaking X-Factor player that Nanai is, but he does have an all-round game. He's a poor man's Ben Smith. He's going to be like a slippery eel out of a tackle rather than bust through. He's going to pass the ball to someone who's quicker. So Nanai and Collins, both good players. Nanai's got a bit more of that wow about him, but I think all-round game, Collins also very good. Trainer, I think, got 1 game last year. We'll see what Tana has in mind for him. So that's the team. When you compare it to some of the other New Zealand teams, it's not all that intimidating, but Tana's in his 3rd year, so you can't say you're really building anymore. I think, you know, the players you didn't want, they should be gone. Your tactics should be embedded. The guys you saw a couple of years ago when they were coming through the ranks should be here now. So Tana needs to do something. Last season's record was a middling 7-7-1. So 7 wins, 7 losses, and the 1 draw. Which, if you're going to be in the finals, is obviously not good enough. But the big problem last season was the record against New Zealand teams with no wins. You can't do that. You can't not beat New Zealand teams. The way Super Rugby is set up with a conference system, you can't not beat the teams in your own conference. So, in terms of expectations for the year, I think that has to improve for a minimum. I mean, if you can win your home games, cool. You might be looking at playoffs if you can win your home games, but I think that's a bare minimum. Finals, if he makes the finals, like not the final, but playoffs, then I think he's getting an A grade with the squad. I think he's getting an A, but I think realistically, beating a few New Zealand teams is a minimum. If it's more of this, then you've got to start asking questions as to where's the direction of the team going. And it might be that he needs to do something tactically different, because if you're just saying we're putting two teams on the park and the one with the better team on paper is going to win, the Blues probably aren't going to win that many games, especially with New Zealand opposition. So whether it's like, Michael Cheika, when he took over the Waratahs, he had that season where they just didn't kick to try and instill something different into them. Or like the Highlanders have often played better without the ball than some teams. So I don't know what the solution is, but Tana's got to think of something, and he's got to show his ability as a coach to win with perhaps not the better team. He's got to get the best out of what he's got to beat teams which look better on paper, for sure. It doesn't start off easy for him because he's got the Highlanders away. That's hard. Chiefs at home. That was where we got the draw last season, but yeah, that's going to be tough. And then to make matters worse, away trip to South Africa to face the losing finalist Lions, and who looked to be the second best team in South Africa, the Stormers. So yeah, I worry that they could be no points from 4 games at the start of the season. I mean, if they can win one of the New Zealand teams and one of the South African teams in the first 4, I think they'll be off to a good start. If they're 4 losses on the bounce going into the bye week, yeah, it could be a long season. And they've also got a funny schedule in the bye. They've got a bye and then 1 game towards the end of the season. So they haven't got that perfect evenly spacing of the byes, but obviously not everyone can have that. Teams they avoid are the Brumbies and the Bulls. I don't think there's any particular advantages gained there. The Australian conference was weak, so it's hard to know if there'll be much change there. Consolidation with that force being evicted from the competition may make that conference a bit tougher. Definitely the Rebels will be a tougher team. But yeah, by strength of schedule, looking at like last season's results, for and against for the teams, the Blues have the hardest schedule. So mainly because they have to play 4 good New Zealand teams twice, and all the other New Zealand teams get to play at least the Blues. So they get a bit of a reprieve on their New Zealand schedule. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. Like I said, I think if they can't beat some New Zealand teams this year, then yeah, I don't know how much leeway Tana gets. He's got that mana about him as a legendary player that he might get another season after that. But we'll see how it goes. In the next few days, I'd like to have a look at some of the other teams, not just the New Zealand teams, but some of the Australian, South African teams as well, even the Sunwolves and the Jaguares at some point. So we'll see how we go. This has been 2 Cents Rugby, and I'll see you guys next time.